Welcome to episode number 118 of the BEBC
BS
Podcast. I had to look. It's been a while.
I'm still looking.
I
we
changed
skipped
it
a week or two.
I changed it this morning so I know what's right. So, 118. And this is going to be a fun one because this is something we normally do in early November. But football went long, which we all didn't expect, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, the Allen Eagle basketball team was like the Harlem Globetrotters going all over the state playing, and we couldn't get a time worked out with these guys. But today we have Coach Cip and Coach O with us. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you. Hey.
So this is actually going to be, to me, I think it's going to be better than a preseason podcast because now, rather than speculate,
Playoff preview.
Yeah, we know what we got.
we know where we're at, we know what we got, and we can do a lot of talking about what's transpired since, well, from the season start, but y'all been going since, I mean, when did y'all start?
First day of school.
First day of school?
It's summertime. I mean, it never stops.
Yeah.
Day after graduation.
Yeah.
Oh, starts all over again.
School starts early this year, doesn't it?
I think so.
First of August, somewhere right in there. Wow, it's amazing.
So no time off, but we have a lot to get to. There's a lot of stuff that I've got up here. It may not all come out. And these guys, I didn't even talk about what they want to talk about. But this has been it's been a wild ride in my mind. And just watching you guys since November. And I know we talked early in the year about, okay, well, let's just start with the schedule. Because I think that, to me, was kind of eye-opening when you go back and look. And let's just, for those of you who don't follow the basketball team, the guy's sitting 30-5. Is that the season record? I believe that's correct.
I think so.
Yeah,
good.
a 30-win season.
Yep.
Congratulations on that. But it's been an interesting season when you look at it because you started out 4-3. So your last 28 games, you're 26-2. And I guess when you look at it from that perspective, that kind of
That was quick,
man.
yeah. You think about it,
That's pretty
that's what
dominating,
happened.
yeah.
And then you go
So
back
back
and
of his hand.
we'll talk about it. The 5 losses.
Yeah.
I mean, you go down the list of who you lost to. You lost to Plano East, number 1 team in the state, undefeated. You lost, I guess,
Early in the season, though, right?
First game.
Yeah. First
Dave
game.
and I went, and that was a game that we'll talk about a little bit more. But that was a game you led going into the fourth quarter,
Right.
and I think about halfway through the fourth quarter, you were still leading that game. You lose to Stony Point, whose only loss on the season
North Crowley.
is
Plano
Plano
East.
East.
North
North
Crowley.
Crowley, who's a 30-win team. Beaumont United, which was just a fantastic game, and I think probably one of the best games of an individual performance
Holy cow.
by any kid I've seen in the last 10
That
years.
dude shot 50% during the tournament and went 89% against
We
us.
could not put them out.
We'll get into that one because that was really fun. That coach is awesome.
The coach, yeah. He's sort of saying that was a different story.
And those 4 teams that we just mentioned are all ranked in the top 10 in the state.
Right.
You know, and so it's okay. And then you got the loss. It just puts so much pressure on us because of our relationship with Coach Long.
Yeah.
You know, you had a misstep a few weeks ago in the Geyer game.
Yep.
So those are your 5 losses. And so it's like, dang, guys. When you look back and you started the season, did you think 30-5 was going to be where you were at as we sit here today?
I thought we had a chance, and I definitely knew we would lose some, especially early, because we were trying to get in as many events and play as many good teams as we could so that when we got to a time in the playoffs, hopefully, we would have been battle-tested, or got to a time in our district, we would be battle-tested. And when you play good teams, they show you what you're not good at.
Yep.
So it allows us to, get back and work on those things. But I knew we wouldn't have a perfect season. We're not trying to pad our stats or trying to go 35-0. I don't think you get anything out of that. But we're just really trying to be battle tested. And losses I thought we played well and learned a lot about ourselves. And I think that's why we are.
It'd be great to go 35-0
For sure.
and be battle tested.
100%.
Yeah.
Agreed.
You know, 'cause I didn't, and I meant to. I've been busy today. I wanted to go back and look at Plano East's schedule, and I know they played Stony Point, they played you guys. I don't know who else was on their schedule, and I'm not downgrading Planet West.
Right.
They're a very good team.
Absolutely.
I mean, we saw them, and they've won every game, and we'll talk about this too. That's a pretty competitive district they're in.
They are.
And
100%.
we'll talk about that in your playoff opponent as well. But you're in the same boat. You know, the top 4 teams in this district, it's pretty competitive. In fact, actually, I would think to be Braswell is a very surprising team.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that too. There's a lot to talk about.
Great. Can't wait.
So you start the season, you lose 3 starters from last year. So Spitz, Archie,
Femi.
and Femi, and you've got to replace that. But you've got depth coming back, and when you started this season, when you looked at your guys, what did you expect?
I thought we would have a chance to be really good.
Yep.
I thought our athleticism from last year's team to this year's team was so much better. I thought our depth was a little bit better and more athletic. And I know that's hard to say because you do lose we lost 4 college basketball players off of last year's team, so it's hard to replace that. But I thought just the type of team we were trying to create and the culture we were trying to create, I think year 3 with Caden and Trent and those guys, they would just be so much better at the way we wanted to play. So I thought we would be better. I didn't know how much better because we'd be young, a little inexperienced. So I knew we might take some lumps early on. But I thought our potential and our ceiling was a lot higher.
And so do you feel like you took a lot of lumps?
I thought
Again, you look at it differently than we do because we look
Sure.
at wins and losses, and you look at overall play a lot
Yeah.
more than we do. Yeah.
I think we've learned a lot about ourselves, and we've really gotten better as the years went on. I thought early on, because we were kind of doing a new system, we're pressing more, we're denying the ball, playing 10, 11 guys. So our system was a little newer. So I think the longer we've been playing our system, the better we've gotten at it. If you look back at the East game, I think we're a whole different East game than where we are now, and hopefully we playing our best basketball right now. I think we are.
Okay. That's what you always want to hear heading into the playoffs.
It is.
Okay, so you look back on the season when you, as coaches,
Yeah.
if you look back at any one of those 5 losses, is there anything you felt you could have done differently? I know you probably. It's kind of like we have this conversation with the football coaches, and it's kind of like when you have kids. You tell your kids what to do,
Now what are they?
whether they do it or not. And this was great. They will remember Plano West coach Anthony Morgan.
Yeah.
We sat right behind his bench,
And we heard him tell the kids what to do.
don't not bow, don't foul him at all. Goes out there in less than 30 seconds, he fouls him. I said, "Coach, he's not listening to you," and he just died. The whole stands is
Because you can
hilarious.
tell them what to do,
Right,
and you have it in your mind, and they know what they're supposed to do. But when they don't do it, you're like, okay, that's out of my control because
Right.
I've told them what to do. But from a coaching perspective, and this is telling on yourself, I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know if you want to do that or
No,
not.
100%. No, we all can get better and grow, and
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to take responsibility. And
Yep.
I think, like when you could tell a kid what to do and they don't do it, maybe you didn't prepare them to do it. Because, like in my opinion, if you're going to run a last-second play in a game and you're going to bring them over and you're going to draw it up, that's the first time they've seen that play, they're not going to execute it. That's something you've had to do several times in practice. You've
Yep.
had to put them in those situations. So sometimes when they don't execute or don't foul right there, well, did you practice that? Did you put them in those situations where they can learn and grow? And we try to do a lot of situational stuff in practice, but I thought in the Geyer game, we didn't do enough of it up to that point because we had the lead and we executed on getting the ball in bounds, and we had some bad turnovers late. Neo had one where he thought where we had a timeout, but he was waiting on me to call it, and I was waiting on him to call it, so it was a miscommunication between us two. But I think because of those things, like we're going to be better now because of it. So I think those are just opportunities to learn and grow, and you don't want to make it happen in the playoffs, and hopefully we've learned those mistakes. Beats us, up to this point.
That's why we play that schedule, because we know we'll get put in those situations against those tough opponents, and you can learn and grow from what works, what doesn't, what do we need to be better at, and then get back to practice and do it. Whereas if you wait till if you don't get better at it, like you're going home. So that's like Sid was saying, we want to play those top teams that are going to put us in those situations early, so we can learn and grow and better from it. The kids have done a really good job of it. So with as much experience as we have, we have a lot of guys that are new to the varsity level. And, I mean, you're coming out the gate, your first game, varsity player, you're playing Plano East, who a lot of people pick to make it to San Antonio, and then playing Stony Point, that big showcase, and just big games out the gate. There's a quick adjustment to it, and they've been fun to get to go through that with.
Yeah, like Plano East, for example, if my memory is served, they've got 11 seniors on that team that have all played together for
4 years.
6 years, yeah. I mean, even a
Like
long,
6 years
time.
old.
Yeah, since they were 6 years old. Yeah, and so they've.
Yeah, and
had-
they did only have a couple close games this season. 4 or 5 point victories. Stony Point was one of them. Marcus was another one that was a really close game for them. But all the rest have been just blowout, dominating performances. Take us through, say, you can either pick a particular game, but take us through the post game. What lessons you want them to learn based on the experience. How do you debrief them? How do you go through that, either post game or then the next couple days and the next practices? What do you guys do in general, or even specifics?
Yeah, when y'all leave the field and go to the clubhouse.
Yeah. So I'm a big proponent of after a game I don't talk a lot, because one or two things are going to take place. Either we played bad, but we didn't play as bad as I think we played. Or if we played good, we probably didn't play as good as I think we played. So I want to sit down and I want to watch it, because I never want to be the coach that tells them something in that moment that wasn't true. And sometimes when you're coaching, you get a lens on and you see it one way, and then when you go back, well, really, blocking out didn't beat us. It was this, or it was this. So
McKinney boy.
McKinney. Yeah. So we just tell them, hey, we love you. Lessons to learn tomorrow. Let's get back, and we'll talk tomorrow. And we really break it out after that. Just always tell them I'm proud of them, always tell them I love them. And then tomorrow we'll come back to work and we'll see what we need to get better at. And then as a staff, we'll meet and talk and break down 1 or 2, 3 key component areas. When they come back in the next day, we'll show them film over that. And then we'll put them in situations in practice that will help us get better at. But I'm not a screamer after games, because once again, they're not trying to lose. That happens, and vice
And neither
versa.
are you, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
so we just opportunity to get better and come back to work tomorrow.
So it sounds like you've got the same opportunity to break down film, like similar to football, but different positions, different offenses, defenses, stuff like that.
I think it's because there's a quicker turnaround, right? Because football, you get 7 days in between, and you don't have another opponent the next. But what we do on Wednesdays and Saturdays are about us. So we play a Tuesday night game. Wednesday will be about what do we do well in that game, and then it will be about us getting better. And then the Thursday game will be prep for Friday. So Thursdays, Mondays are kind of prep for the game upcoming, and Wednesdays, Saturdays are kind of work on ourselves for what lessons we need to learn or what things we need to fine tune from the previous game.
So you started the full court press all this year. I mean, I thought that was awesome. I mean, the pressure that you put on the other teams and how they try and get away, and there's been plenty of times where they didn't look like they got down the court in that 10 seconds and they got away with it. But your guys are so, I mean, go through your practice and, I mean, man killers and all that stuff. I mean, they're in great shape to run up and down the court all that time. And of course, you've got subs that can sub in, and some of those teams only had like 10 players, period. So it's just amazing the pressure that they put on the other teams. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, so I think that starts right from our very first day with our guys. And that starts in the weight room. That starts in everything we do. We want to have tempo. We want to have urgency. We want to be tough. You can't play this style and be soft. You can't play this style and have urgency about yourself, or you can't not be in shape. So everything we do, from the drills we do to the weight room, everything's designed with pace and urgency and toughness to put them in situations where they don't want to do something. And I think they were kind of skeptical of it at first because we were playing so fast. Mistakes were just going out on the left and right. The ball was flying. It still does to a certain extent some games, but I think they finally understand what we want them to do and have had success doing it. So there's a bigger belief. But something we do every day, and we're in a blessed position where we have a lot of guys. So in practice, you could get up and down the floor, and your first 5 aren't going against a second 5 who aren't capable of giving them a good look. We very much divide teams evenly, and our practices are super fast, super competitive. Even like yesterday, we're hitting the floor. It's just who we are. But at the same time, I think, it just starts every single day. It's the expectation, and I think they've done a good job buying into that.
Yeah. And you've unfortunately you lost a couple of good players this year, but you've got a great nucleus coming back
For sure.
And some JV players look like they're going to be pretty good too. So it's great programming you've done here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
How far into the season? This goes back to a little bit. How far in the season does it typically take? When do you see your team light bulb finally goes off in their head and go, they're getting it, they're finally getting it, that kind of thing?
I
might have
think
2 different answers. I'll let you go first.
me personally, I think it was in the summer at the TABC. I knew we still had a long ways to go, but you came to, I think, the first day where we played 2 games, and they were close against good teams, and first one, it was a new system, new players, and so I don't know if they were really like, man, does this really work?
Yeah, because they shot like Trent and Caden were 3 for 20 or something in that
terrible.
first game. It was awful.
and because it was the pace is both ends that we were playing with, and then the second game, I think we won by 12 or 15 or something, but you didn't really feel it because it was all still so new, and everyone's kind of like. And then we came back the next day, and you could see it click, and they just. I don't remember who we played. It was a good team, but they just, beating by 40, and the kids, you could see the bounce in their step, we can do this, because they're all athletic as all can be, but they were flying around, and just the joy in that, because nobody wants to just walk it up and hey, and play a game.
Well, when you get to our
in the 30s and 30s, 42 to 37, that's a.
They love the 100-point game.
Yeah, 107 to 38.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, had to show us up that game. The freshmen that day, we won 101 to 42, and we got close to 100 a couple times, and they were so excited. So when I went in there more, I was like, guys, we put up 101. We set the bar high, and I was like, man, y'all couldn't let me have that one. Not only that, but go past that and stuff. But it's fun seeing the because we got to play some of the guys that minutes weren't as in the go to a Trent because he was sitting next to me and told him he about ripped my arm off. And I was like, dude, you got to stop. I only got one leg because he's going so excited. They were just getting so excited. Kate jumped up yeah, take the other one, because NJ was going crazy out there. Yeah. And then Sam Johns goes, guys that, they're kind of the role reversals, and that's been the best thing about this group is just from top to bottom how much they care about each other, and any of them you can see any of them with each other at any point in time, and it's there's no clicks in there's nothing like that. And so that's the special part about them. And
I think a good example of that's the other night at the end of the third quarter when Neo's prayer was answered on the 3-point shot.
Oh, yeah.
Now, everybody rushed the court.
Yeah.
You get a technical foul.
We did. But that's a good tech. If I could get a tech.
Yeah, if you get a tech for that. But it was great to see because, that was a prayer he threw up.
Oh, yeah.
And it went, and everybody came off the bench and on the court, and the refs were like, yeah, I saw him corner. Coach, it's the rule.
Yeah.
And for the record, it's because they crossed half court onto their side.
Yeah. And I know for you, it had to be tough because you had to sit down the whole fourth quarter, and you never sit.
I don't think I've sat ever.
We had to go. That's the first time I ever said. We had to go find a chair for him.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Funniest part, I turn around, and my wife is like, are you okay? She thought I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
She thought I was literally, she was like, he doesn't sit. Is everything okay? She was trying to get my attention. She was like, you're shit. I was like, yeah, I got so
I got tagged.
Yeah. So the rule is when you get it, does that happen? If that happens in the first quarter, you have to sit the whole game.
It's called the seatbelt rule.
Yeah, where they give a bench tech. If
right.
if a player on the bench would say something to they can't give it to a player because they don't know, so they give it to the coach.
Right.
Or if you dunk before the game, they can seatbelt you.
Right.
Actually, my very first game I ever coached, I had a kid dunk before the game, and I got seatbelted my very first game as a head coach. I was so upset. It's like, I'm so excited to coach, and you're holding me back here. So
That's got to be hard for you.
it's so hard for me.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just not doing anything.
When did you see the light bulb come on?
Oh, yeah, you didn't.
So the together and toughness part, which we talk about all the time, we did a boot camp right before the season. And our ROTC program, we have Sergeant Major Cole and who's the guy that left?
Yeah.
Sergeant Major Bell, and he's actually left. But we went to them and said, hey, this is our idea. We want to create a boot camp to just give these guys some type of adversity, build toughness, build togetherness, and they went all out with it. And through that whole week of just breaking our guys down and just the structure of it, I saw our guys like ultimately click. So that's, to me, when they clicked together and they clicked about toughness as far as like how we want them to play and the pace we want them to play. I think like district, by the time we started district, I thought, okay, we're moving the ball how we need to move it. We're pressing. Our rotations are good because all that stuff takes time. And even as a staff, to be honest, this was outside of my comfort zone. I'm a very at Sulphur Springs, we were very disciplined, very pack it in, don't gamble ever. We're not going to try. We're just going to be so solid at what we do.
Yeah.
We're going to make you miss. Where here, we've had to evolve, and as a coach, I've had to evolve. So I've even learned some things that we needed, like shooting-wise. Like we don't do a whole lot of half-court shooting. We do a whole lot of full-court shooting because I noticed early on in the season we weren't making a lot of shots. But I think that was because we weren't putting them in positions or giving them the game-like reps with the conditioning to make those. So I think we've evolved as they've evolved. So.
To follow up on that, I can't remember what it was, but you're right, because Dave and I think we went to most of the games this year, and there were, I can't count the number of missed layups, and it was driving us insane. Yeah. And it was kind of right after all those tournaments, and Coach Manning said to us, we just haven't had any gym time. We just need to get in the gym.
Well, there's also the free throw shots, too, in the first of the season. They started making with the second part of it.
Yeah. But you get to district, and let's talk about this district for a minute.
Which is changing.
It is, and we'll get into that later, too. But right now, it's you look at it, and again, we talked off and on, before the season started, and kind of, okay, what are your expectations? And I think everybody knew McKinney was going to be pretty good again. And then beyond that, to me, it was a bunch of question marks.
Sure.
Denton Geyer, and I didn't know this at the time, but they lost their top two players, transferred out. And beyond that, you didn't hear of anybody that was going to put the fear of God in you.
Yeah.
And so you kind of look at Allen and you look at McKinney, what's it going to be?
Yeah.
And kind of played out like y'all thought it would?
No. To be honest, and this is credit to Coach Williams at Rock Hill, I thought they would be the bottom team.
Oh, really?
I thought they didn't have a chance to.
He scares me.
He's a great
He's
guy.
an intimidating. I love Coach Williams.
Why do you think he's complimenting it?
He's awesome. Yeah. But he did such a good job, and I thought he deserved Coach of the Year in our district because he got those guys who were pick bottom, really in the league by most all coaches, just play hard, play together. And they were so I was proud they got in, and maybe they can beat East.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be okay.
Yeah.
Either way.
Stranger things have happened. But so McKinney, the two games with McKinney were competitive, which you knew they would be. But you won them both. You split with Geyer, and then you beat everybody else both times. And so when you look at the district, I mean, and again, I thought you'd run it a little more than not run it. The margin of victory in a lot of those games wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And I don't know whether that was those teams were more competitive, or was it like we say a lot of times with the football team where you're playing with your food, and the guys kind of take. And you and I talked before the Rock Hill game the other night about the defensive intensity, because when you don't have that defensive intensity, it seems to translate to your offense isn't as efficient either.
Yeah, 100%.
And a lot of times when you didn't see that, then you're like, okay, these guys are hanging around, and it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why are these guys hanging around?
Two answers to that. So winning in district is hard. Any team can beat you anytime because coaches are so well prepared. You don't have bad coaches in 6A up here in the Dallas area. Like every coach is going to do his homework. They're going to try to take away your strengths. They're just going to game plan. So, in my opinion, when you play, you're just not going to. It's hard to blow those type of teams out, and you can even see with East. East barely beat Hebron one game. Or barely beat Marcus just because it is hard to do. But I also think, like early on in our season, we played a lot of highly intense games with, the number one team in the state or whatever it was, and they were so talked about. When we got to district, we almost lost that focus to want to win. So we did kind of coast a little bit and did kind of play with our foods, just because of the matchup or the hypeness of the game. I think a little bit, but I think too, and this year I felt like the season was as long as it's ever been, because when you play, you go on this roller coaster. Like you're playing well, and all of a sudden you almost get tired of playing well, and kids start going back, from what got you there, and so you got to fight this. Yeah, they do. And to be honest, the Geyer game was the best thing that could have happened to us all year long. Literally, because
good job, Coach. Strategic loss.
I'm telling you, I promise you, it was the best thing. And we have played because we got away from who we were. Like we have this DNA about ourselves, playing hard defensively, being together, share the basketball, and some of those close games with Boyd and some of those 2 or 3 games before that, we stopped doing that.
Yeah, tell these guys what you told me about your assist in those games, because that was a big deal.
It was crazy. So once again, like we tried to force teams to be disruptful defensively, but on the offensive end, we want to share it, right? And we're averaging about 15 assists a game. Well, in Boyd, we had 2 assists. In Geyer, we had 5, and whoever we played in between, I think we had like 6. Yeah, single. So we got away. We started forcing shots, or I thought kids were trying to get their own. And we just got away from who we were, and it showed in our play. And then the next game, Rock Hill, we had 27 assists. We played Brownsville the other night, had 20. A bunch of Little Elm had 19, I think, in Little Elm. So we're back to playing, in my opinion, the best basketball we played all year because of our locked-inness on being who we or what got us to this point.
Yeah.
So.
Because sometimes it's hard. I mean, there are kids, and you can say it all you want, but if they're coming in the locker room and it's like, we play well, but we want, but it's like, hey, that, with the guy, we could come back that next day and work on it. Whereas if it kept happening, you can't come back after the loss in the playoffs. So, we didn't go out there and try to lose it, but it gave us opportunity. I mean, personally, it kind of brought back some memories, the late season Geyer game, but and I thought credit to the kids, they took it as that too. Like, okay, we do have to look at ourselves, and there's more we can do. And it has been pretty to watch, just the ball movement and just moving around.
Yeah, and in fact, I'll even say it. I guess I was the only one at the Rock Hill game, but there were times when I thought they moved it too much. I thought there were guys passing up open shots, but I think what you talk to them about, they just said, all right, we're just going to keep passing it. Someone will take the shot eventually, but I think there was some of that.
And early on in that game, was the Rock Hill game the game after? Who did we play next after we lost to Geyer? I don't ever remember.
Yeah, Prosper.
So we're going to play at Prosper, and they have a good game. They had a kid go off for like 30, but we had 20-plus assists that game. And I think it was, I won't put his name out here, but some kid, like in the first minute and a half, took a pull-up, no ball movement, and I sat him for that. And I thought everybody's eyes just opened up like, oh, crap. Like, coach isn't going to, he's going to protect it. And the bench is the best teacher. So even from that point on, like when kids do that, like, coach, we're going to move it and have bought in. And I think they've seen success. Like I was talking to Trent, and Trent's so talented. And what they don't realize is if you'll let the game come to you, and if you'll play it the right way, your numbers will show up. So where we've had 20 assists or 20 7 assists the other night. He had 20-plus points. It had been 2 of his best games. So being unselfish returns, what you give, you receive type of deal. So it's been really neat to see, and I hope it can keep rolling.
Yeah, and let's talk for a minute about it, and we've touched on it a little bit, but I think, and we've been going religiously to basketball. I mean, your son played, so when was that? What year?
He's 20, about to be 30.
Eons ago.
Yeah, it's been
Before 2010?
9 years ago.
Yeah, but it's been a while, and I think this is the deepest team from a
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
No
that
doubt.
Allen's had, and I think that when I look at and I try to evaluate again, I look at all sorts of stuff because I'm always thinking ahead, what's next, and when you played, especially when you got into district, you play 10 guys religiously, and there's no drop off in my mind. Now, I know you may see it differently, but I remember last year during one game, and I don't remember which game it was, when you made a lineup change and someone's mom.
I knew you were about to say that.
And you're like,
For the record, we went on
that too.
like a 10,
yeah, it
15-0
worked.
run.
It worked.
We won by 30.
Yeah,
But in my mind, I was with her. I mean, I wasn't going to yell it like she did, but
Yeah.
I was like, okay. But
I was there.
Yeah.
And at about halfway through, you're like, I guess that move was right.
He knows what he's doing. But I think in this case, I don't think from a parent perspective, and again, we listen to all the parents.
It's hard not to.
I don't think anybody, when you 4 minutes in or 3 minutes in, you bring in 3 subs, and no one goes, oh, here we go.
Right.
Because the depth is there this year.
Yeah.
And there's so many kids. And I love the fact, and I don't know who your leading scorer. I think Caden's your leading scorer.
Barely.
Yeah. But you sure? I mean, I actually have the numbers, but I'm not, mine may not be exactly right. But when other teams are trying to prepare for you, they can't focus on one kid.
Right.
Or 2 kids.
Yep.
They've got to look 10 deep because you got 10 guys out there that can fill the bucket with 20 if any
You don't
night.
have to play against the scheme or play against
Yeah.
offensive or whatever defense or whatever you're running.
Yeah, so you can't take away our best player, which is the magic of our team, right? Like, if you take away Caden, why would you do that? There's literally guys that could score 20. I mean, I think we've had 4 bench guys here, which is crazy. And we've started, 9 or 10 different starting lineups. So it really does
So
it.
what's a bench guy?
Yeah. So
That's the
Good
question.
point.
I think this team is the most deep team ever to play high school. I would put it against any team. I've had other basketball people or say that. I think the is every player on our team could probably go start anywhere in our district. And I'm not taking that away from any team in our district.
No.
I just think our kids are so talented and they play so hard, and they're just so good at what we do. But the selflessness to buy into what we're trying to do. We don't have kids, I hope, trying to move because, I'm only getting 15, 16. They have bought into what we're doing, and that's hard. Every kid wants to start, and every kid wants to be the guy, and every kid wants to average 30. But I think when you see the success we've had, you start buying into what actual team basketball or team sports are about, and I think it's magical with this team.
Yeah, and they've been just echo that it doesn't work without their buy-in.
Yeah.
And I've talked to some of them because they've asked me different things time here and there, and with 2018, obviously it's a special team, but that starting 5, it was kind of the same way. Where you're going to take away Zay, okay, well you got Jarrett. You're going to take away Jarrett, okay, well you got Brett. But there were 5.
Yeah, there were 5.
You never know who it's going to be, whose night it's going to be.
Yeah.
You have Renze come off the bench and hit 5 threes in a row, or you could turn around and, have Eric, or, you just go down the list. And that's the fun part. And I think one of our middle school coaches, SIP's former player, Grayson, he helps a bunch with us with the Saturday practices as much as he can outside of Erickson. And he talked to the team one day. It may have been after the guy, or I don't remember when it was. So somewhere around there, where that lull. And he said something that stood out to me. It's because sometimes kids get, like, if you take them out, they think, like, what did I do wrong? Or I don't want to come on, we need to win.
Oh, none of them want to
But-
come out.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
If you do,
See it on their
like,
face
you're-
when they-
if you do, you're probably not in the right program. But the confidence that you should have that, like, if, Caden's coming out and you have one of the twins coming in, to know that, like you said, that drop, there isn't.
Right.
Sometimes you have teams where it's like, when that kid comes out, you're like, man, if we can just kind of hang on to keep this somewhere around this area for about 2 minutes or so, or you're, as a coach, you're having to worry about, I got to sit him here, let him get this 45 seconds plus the quarter to get him back. Like, you don't have that problem, and
Or even if one of your guys is having a bad night,
Right.
Yeah, just off. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
you got 9 more that can pick it up, and that's the beauty of this to me, as opposed to having again, it'd be great to have a 5-star guy out there. We'd love to see that someday, so
sure.
feel free to go get one.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got one coming up, develop one.
Well, we have taught him well. We have taught him well.
Develop one. That'd be great.
It would.
And but like you say, those, I'd have to go back and look. There's been a lot of 5-star guys come through, but Lake Highlands last year had Trey Johnson, and they
I
won.
was like, man, I don't know. It's like,
And you've got some of the more kind of spectacular
Like Travis
teams. You had
had one
Plano
too.
West there a few years back, and then you had Geyer, who had
Yeah.
Travis.
2 to 3
Right.
fantastic,
Yeah.
top level.
Jalen Wilson was
Players,
in there, too.
South
He was in the
Garland,
NBA.
Maxey.
Yeah, Maxey.
But then the talent drop off once you go below those 2 or
Yeah.
3,
If those guys are having a bad night,
it's huge.
Yeah.
it's
and
tough.
they're playing
'Cause-
30 minutes a game.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the rest of the team is looking to that player to lead
Makes
them.
it tough.
And if they're having a bad night, it does make it tough. So,
One of the things with it too that I think a lot of times people don't really think about or see is, now think about, with everything Sip said about how our practices are with those guys out there, like, you're going against, starting level caliber anywhere else, whereas, sometimes if your team isn't that deep, it's like, I can get by this guy going 70%.
Yeah.
Where, like, no, they're pushing each other, and if you're not playing hard, well, there's 9 other guys sitting here that can go out there and
Yeah. And they
do
will.
it.
And they will.
Yeah, so it pushes them. There's not that drop off where it's, I can kind of coast on this one because I'm not feeling it, or I'm tired because I'm not going to get taken out. The replacement's way beneath me.
sure.
Not
Not
here.
here.
Yeah,
Nah.
Makes it nice.
yeah.
Well, it's been a fun season, and it's not over. I mean, now the fun really begins.
It does.
I say that. You drew Hebron,
Right.
okay? And I will tell you, there were 2 other coaches in this district that told David and I both they didn't want to play Hebron.
We don't want to play Hebrew?
No, they did not.
Oh,
In the city, they were trying to avoid Hebron at all costs.
yeah. Hebron's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe you. Y'all played them earlier in the year.
We did.
And I think it was a comeback victory. We didn't
67.
67-64.
Yeah.
But weren't they up?
A bunch.
19
Yeah.
19?
19?
in the third. But
Yeah.
who
But
remembers?
who's counting?
Yeah.
19 in the third, and you came back and won.
Right.
Okay. I've noticed, and I apologize, this is going to be, they've lost 4 of their last 5 or 4 of their last 6 games. So, and I don't.
They did it on purpose to play Allen.
Louisville was in there. Fireman Marcus was in there. It's not
Again,
like
tough
it's-
district.
Yeah, that's a tough district, but still, they're trending the wrong way.
Right.
They'd love to, and they knocked you out last year when I know all of us didn't think it was going to happen. You probably didn't either.
Nope,
After
did not.
they did the same thing last year, though.
They did
So
lose like 4 of their last.
They lost
Oh,
their
did
last
they
4 or
really?
5.
Maybe that's
Lost-
something like
lost
that.
the
So
play-in game.
That's their thing. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's so tough about Hebron?
Just in general, I told our kids, there's some certain teams, and I won't put them out there on blast. Certain teams, like when we get off the bus, we're going to win. Like, we're just so much more athletic.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to turn them over enough where,
Sure you don't want to name those?
I'm not. Just there's certain teams that will happen, right? As Hebron's not one of those teams. They're very athletic. They're very. They have 2 guys that are really elite with the basketball in their hands, can really score. So you're not going to go out and punk this team. You're not going to go out and just physically overimpose them. They're gonna match that. So if you're not disciplined, if we're not tough, if we're not locked in, not focused, they can beat you. And I thought last year we did a bad job as a group of just kind of overlooking Hebron a little bit, just because, that's the nature of basketball sometimes. And I can promise you this year,
Kids,
and it's kids, and I can promise you this year we are not. So
we'll
we
make it
respect
fun.
them a bunch.
Yeah. The flip side, you don't think that they're in there saying, "Hey, this is what happened to us last year, and look what we were able to do."
Yeah.
So it's kind of two-sided.
We had the
Should
game
be.
in hand in the third quarter.
Yeah.
When they played you guys before. It's interesting for a 21-11 team, which is their record. They've had 5 games that went to overtime, 1 that went to double overtime, and they only lost 1 of those. So, obviously,
So don't
they're
keep it
good
close.
At, they're good at
I didn't know that stat. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
We got to put them away.
You could have just made that up, and we wouldn't even know.
He did.
Like John knows this too well.
Yeah,
No, I mean,
That's good info.
I mean, well, yeah. So Max Preps has never been wrong.
No, I
probably
believe
right.
it. Yeah, it's right.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
Yeah.
tough-minded
And again,
team.
they are in a tough
Yeah.
district. I think anybody you drew in that district wasn't going to be easy.
Not at all.
You talked about Rock Hill making the playoffs. Great for Rock Hill, and they look up and they got Plano East.
Right.
And that's
It's tough.
it is
Yeah.
tough. It's like, oh great, we finally made the playoffs. This is probably the first time they've made it as a school in
100%.
basketball.
Right.
In 6A at least. I don't
Yeah,
know.
in
Yeah,
6A, and then you're like,
second year,
yeah.
and they didn't make it last year.
boom, here we go. We get
Yeah.
the number 1 team in the state, number 3 team in the country, according to certain rankings, and you're like, okay, well,
Welcome to the big leagues.
yeah, that's where you're going to be. So, this region, let's talk about the region for a minute, because you've got 3 30-win teams in this region, if you think about
good.
it.
That's
You've got
good.
North Crowley, you've got Allen, and you got Plano East. And you got a lot of other good teams in here.
You do.
When you look at
Keller.
this, Keller's in that, and Keller North Crowley game is a potential second round game, which could be really good.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah. For them.
South Grand Prairie won 29 games. They're in
They're
this.
really good.
Yeah.
They are very good.
Jesuit. I'm surprised. I was looking. Jesuit came back and ended up with a 22-win season. Now y'all blew the doors off Jesuit. I don't know whether they weren't.
They weren't at full strength. They were missing their best player, but
Yeah, and McKinney's 25 wins,
Yeah.
Richardson's 25 wins. The Louisville Geyer game, and that's who Coach Long wanted to play. He actually told
Did
us
he
that.
really?
Yeah. He said because he
You
didn't
said
want
it,
to
not
play
us.
Hebron.
yeah.
You said that, not us. Just making sure.
No, yeah, we talked to him a lot.
Yeah.
And he said they did want to play Louisville because he said they're more helter skelter
Right.
as opposed to what Hebron is. Carroll's in here. Highland Park's a 25-win team.
Yep.
And I know y'all can't talk about looking ahead, but the winner of Allen Hebron plays the winner of Lake Highlands and Grand Prairie.
Correct.
So,
And both of those teams are really good. Our coaches are working on Grand Prairie and Lake Highlands now, and done a lot of that film. And we briefly talked about them. They're capable of being anybody's capable of beating anybody, and you got to take it a game at a time. And
Yep.
I think it's doable. Obviously, we have great belief in who we have and what we are, but no, it's not going to be easy, and you got to go out there and do it.
yeah.
And that's the fun part about really about it, because you can go down that list of our whole region, and it's like you say one of those, hey, they're make it to the regional tournament or something. It's like, yeah, I could see that, like for many of them, because
Yeah.
they're all talented, well coached, and that's why it's March Madness. Like if
There's not a lot of patsies in this region.
Oh no,
Rock Hill's probably, I don't know what Rock Hill's record is. Are they like a 500 team?
I think they're a little more than that.
Yeah, I think
Speaking of which, how'd we end up there to play on Monday?
I won the coin flip.
You won the
I
coin.
won the coin flip.
And I
mean,
told him, and I flat
You
out
were
told
there.
him.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to
Yeah,
play
Rock
there?
Hill's a good place to play.
Yeah.
I told him
We hit 18, 30.
that he would lose every bit of our support if he picked to play Wiley again.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think Coach Garner would have fired me if I did Wiley again.
We're not going back to Wiley.
We've talked about that at length at times.
And it's a great facility, but it's just like,
Just
I don't know.
I
The
don't like
physical aspect of it.
Yeah, it's just a booger bear for you guys.
Weird.
We hit 18 threes the other night in Rock Hill, so we felt good about going back.
They scored 107.
That's what I'm like,
That's right.
That's what I was saying. You can help me.
I'm in town, so I'm gonna be there Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun. 7:00 Monday night at Rock Hill High
Yeah, music
School.
is fun.
It'll be Allen versus Hebron in the first round of the playoffs. We've been in communication. I'm just going to put some pressure on you guys. We've been in communication with our buddy Professor Diggs over at Plano East.
Yeah.
And we started talking round 3 already. So for us, I know y'all can't talk ahead,
100%, yeah.
but that is a potential third round game, which it'd be nice. Again, like I said, you played
It's
with
a
them
whole
for
different team.
3.5
now than it was at
quarters.
the beginning of the year.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, but send Rock Hill the tape of the delay game we played against Geyer and have them play that against Plano East.
Wow, yeah, they're really talented.
I think that's going to be a good, better game than probably a lot of people think because they look at records and just but
yeah, they may not be
Rock Hill
working
is solid and their styles are, Rock Hill the way we play, it's a little different from how they typically do. I mean, they made the playoffs, so they beat some of the better teams out district.
Well, and I thought, and again, I mentioned earlier, I thought Braswell was a team. When you look at, Ja'Cory Jones, you look at Malachi.
Yeah, very good.
He just was drilling threes the other night, left and right.
He's good.
A good player. Now, they only had 10 players dressed out. I guess they had some people hurt or whatever. You talk about the depth.
Yep.
And that's developing that goes a long way to being successful. And I don't think they had. Speaking of coaches that scare me, that coach.
Sakaris. Coach Manning worked for him a year.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
He
That's
did.
right.
Him and Christian at Plano. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he scared me. But the coaches come around. Coach Watson up at McKinney used to not like us. Now he loves
Really?
us. And, oh yeah,
He's a legend.
Oh, we were so hard on him.
We used to stay right behind their benches and
he-
just give it to them.
He was a stomper.
you still do.
Was he?
Oh, he kept. And we told him to quit damaging our floor because he's stomping so hard.
In the dress shoes.
I love it.
Well, and plus when you're getting beat every time you come to Allen, it gets a little difficult.
Yeah.
Now when he finally came up there and won, he was he changed his tune a little
Yeah.
bit.
That's some good
peek
ones.
out there, yeah, exactly. Well, fellas, we appreciate you stopping by. Sorry we didn't do it in November, but I think this was actually better because we can reflect back on it, and we appreciate y'all for what you're doing at the school and how you're developing. Oh, I had one other question I want to talk to you about. We talked about it before we started. We talked about referees, and the reason I'm going to my question for you guys is, when do you find out which ref crew you have for each game? When they walk out?
No, they
For just
put
a
it
regular
on,
game, or
Yeah, just a regular game.
They put it on Arbiter 2-3 days.
it just
before.
depends. They have a person who's like the assigner, and it has to meet certain schedules, and then certain areas. Teams can say, "Oh, we don't want a certain guy."
Right.
One of the best officials in this area teaches at Lowry, so he can't work any of our games. Different things like that, and it kind of depends. But
Why
usually
all their
within a week.
home rest ref our freaking games?
It's usually, and we don't really go looking for it until maybe it gets closer.
Yeah.
But it's usually within a week or so. And
My question was going to be, because, again, you've got a pool of referees, and you see them enough that you kind of know how they call games. Do you change anything you do based upon?
I don't even know. I've never looked at the Arbiter before.
Oh, you don't. So you don't
Some
care.
coaches write it down.
Yeah.
They have it. It's just part of the game and something we'll have to adjust to. And
If the players do what they need
Yeah.
they need to do, then there's no issue.
I know certain refs are gonna call more charges, or certain refs will call more fouls. So before the game, I might go up to a Trent or a Neo and say, "Hey, you really got to show your hands tonight because so and so he loves the hand check call." But or throughout the course of a game, they're calling it early. Hey guys, you got to do a better job. But as far as preparing before, and
I was just wondering.
not changing much.
And a lot, they're just like anyone else. They'll have bad nights or something. And so, it's a thing we talk to them, control what you can control. If you see, hey, they're calling that, don't do it. Then
Some
adjust.
refs just have bad nights every time.
We do say I know some are very sensitive.
Yes.
So I will tell a trainer, hey, you cannot go cry about you just have to, hey, yes sir, thank you sir, and keep it moving.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yeah, just you have to be cordial with some guys or nice and
Kill him with kindness. I had a ref in one of our freshman games, and I asked him, and we played the same style. I was like, did he not get him on that shit? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm tired. I'm having trouble keeping up with y'all. And I told him, I was like, oh, I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's
you know,
awesome.
thank you.
Yeah.
And then coming right down, he calls a foul on the other team, and the kid didn't do nothing really bad, but just like the way he responded, and like he teased him up, and I was like, you know, I use it as kind of a teaching moment. I was like, you know, I didn't go crazy because I mean I saw that we all saw he got fouled. He didn't call it a big deal, but I didn't yelling and screaming. You're only gonna make it worse.
Right.
Maybe being nice and like, hey,
You leave
thanks
that
for the
to
honesty. No, we do. That you know maybe that you know it is what it is. You can't control that,
No.
but you know.
Yeah.
You know, there's usually something you can find like, oh, hey, that was a charge, not a block. Well, really, if you were half a second earlier, like you should have been, you could control that, and now you're not in that position, and it, you know, that's something I've personally like because you can lose it and you get mad, and you know, everyone wants to blame them, you know, but
Well, and I think basketball is the hardest sport to ref.
It is.
I mean, it is because it happens so quick, and there's 10 guys, you know, and everybody sees things different.
and it's so there's so many judgment
Yeah.
calls.
Well, it
that was a
amazes
travel.
me.
No, it wasn't. But
It amazes me when a foul's over here on the baseline practically, and the guy way out here is the one calling
the
it.
backside of
When
the
this rep is sitting right next to it, looking at it.
well,
Yeah.
and one of the things in the area, and really a lot of places, like because I mean, I ref or baseball like years ago for one season. I was like, I'm never gonna do that again, like because you're always.
Was I in the stands?
I don't even know, but there's once COVID hit, once everything else. That's the thing. You lost a bunch of people, and then from wanting to ref, and there are people that are over the top with the officials, fans, even some coaches play. You know, no, that makes that looks like
Mr.
nonsense.
Tiki Tack.
But like with the whole attack on person, you see it on social media and news like all the time and
Yep.
things like that. So the downside is now there are guys that maybe are calling like a 6A game, varsity game that maybe aren't just ready yet, but they don't have enough
to do it.
And so,
Right.
because we talked about it within the, you know, there was a game in particular this year that it was like, man, that guy's always calling it late. But to your point, he was up here, and it was, you know, a newer ref was down low and didn't call it, but so it was like it was blatant enough to him, like, no, I have to make that call because with the 3-man
There you go.
crews,
I
they
see.
have like
Okay.
an A,
I
B,
see
C.
that now.
There's a rotation they do, and they're all watching a certain part. But yeah, you kind of see everything. So if it's on one end, it may look like, what are you doing? You blew that call so late. Well, really, that guy should have made it. But he was like, if he's not going to, I have to call it type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know,
It is frustrating when it's against you, though.
yeah. yeah.
It is.
We've seen that a
And
lot.
I think my frustration, when I get frustrated with officials, and again, from my viewpoint, is when they're not consistent.
Right.
You know, and that
Yeah.
gets really frustrating, and I think probably does for coaches too, and the kids.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they're
Get a
they're
feel.
like, wait a minute.
You you called me on this, and now and you called me again. I'm like, what do you want me to do?
Well, or the exact same thing happens on the other end of the court.
Right, and there's no
and,
call.
And there's no call.
Yeah, and I think that was one of, you know, going back to the style we play, one of the adjustments with us early on too is that because you could see it, some of the officials, it was like, all right, after we went for a little bit, it's like, ooh, I'm going to call that one now because now we kind of, you know, they can kind of slow down a little bit and catch their breath and
Yeah.
and you know and. That for us, that's the worst thing that can happen. Is like we want the pace to go, and so you know, and again for us, okay, well, how can we control that? So we've got to get better at practicing, like you know, playing with our chest and our hands, like the reaching, the ones you can control, where it's like, you know, because you're gonna have games where okay, that guy's gonna call it every time. Well, other games they may let you play a little bit, so it's all part of the process.
Figure it out as you go.
Yeah,
You know, the phantom foul, when you, from this angle, you can tell he's this far away, doesn't even touch him, and yet he's doing it.
I don't think that's a sign I use.
That's a sign
I'm
that
not
they
familiar
call.
with that.
That's the BEBC call for.
That's for displacement. Yeah.
Several times we'd watch DJ just go straight up, not touch the guy,
and
and he's running into DJ, and he's getting called a foul for it.
You get some interesting calls. We had that happen one, and guy said, "Well, yeah, he went straight up. He didn't come down, but he stepped to him and jumped and went up instead of standing
So his
still.
body motion was,
like
yeah.
you went that way and up rather than standing straight, standing there. Like you went into him, you know. And so it's like, you know, it is
That's
what it
kinda
is. But
ticky-tack.
well, and it's I don't know if y'all girls play Monday, third round. They're playing awesome. The game they play, they're playing SGP,
Right.
who
I
beat
did read
Braswell.
this.
It was a tie game in the fourth with a minute left, and the Braswell coach got teed up, and SGP made both free throws, and that sparked them. Basically, they ended the game on a 7-2 run. Like in fourth quarter, second round playoff. That's where it's for us, it's like you like that's got to be the worst. And supposedly, I guess she used profanity towards the official, but of course they're saying that that's what the official said. They're saying that, but
And she
don't
said,
even
"I
get in
didn't
that
say it."
right. You don't even put yourself, just like we tell the kids, don't even put yourself in a position to
where they
make
could
that a
make that,
thing.
yeah.
Right.
And if it's one of the things the post game speeches, and then this like if every second you focus on the officials, you're taking away from the focus on the kids and coaching them. And again, we're not perfect. And the Geyer this year, foul count in the first half was like 16-6.
Yeah.
And to your point, like we were fouling, like, and they were calling it, but then we go down there and get hammered and nothing.
Yeah.
And I got caught up in it, and I'm, then all of a sudden the kids, start griping, and they're caught up in it. And when the kids said something, I was like, "Hey, you don't talk to them." He's like, "Coach, he's following you. Like, if you're gonna question every call," and I was like, kind of hit me. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like,
I was tough on the call, didn't you?
yeah, and he was true. And like, I don't have too much pride to realize it. And I was like, and so we went back to the huddle. It was in between quarters, and I was like, "All right, guys, we know how the game is. We've 3 quarters in," and I was like, I don't want to hear another word about calls, official, anything. Like, it's all us the rest of the way. And I was like, hold me accountable too. Like, we are not. I don't want to hear it. And we stopped and made a run and cut it to like 5. And their freshman team is outstanding. And we dug ourselves such a hole. And so, it was great for us. Like, if we didn't, and I told them, I was like, and that's on me too. If we didn't get caught up in that and we focus on us rather than the officials, because so much judgment to it, like that's where, and so that's the big piece. If you can keep, you get caught up in that, like you're just asking to lose and just for an excuse.
And you're developing a 7-footer on that team, right?
Hopefully, I got some good gene lines in that group.
Yeah.
So they're a great
is
group
good.
of kids.
Like,
Like
yeah.
they're one of they just a lot of fun. Like group to
That'd be
coach.
fun.
Yeah,
Talking about the depth, that might be
Oh,
the
yeah.
deepest freshman team I've ever seen.
it was ridiculous. Like it brought a whole new. We talked about all the stuff earlier. Complacent. Like we were beating JV teams by 40 and. I could say whatever, and Michael and Brandy they'd laugh at me, and they're like, "Dad, why are you so worked up with them? Like you're up 30." I'm like, "Well, because we should be up 60."
Yeah.
And that's not a knock on who we're playing, but it's like that's my whole job. I tell them the first day all year they get tired hearing about. I don't care about wins and losses. I'll lose every single game if it gets you ready for when it matters the most. Because just because we can walk out there and be better than them, that doesn't mean that. Like we've done anything, we were playing ourselves and stuff. But it was a fun year. Those are some good kids. Really top to bottom. You go down to our middle schools, we're involved in those a bunch. It's just the kids, like not even talking about basketball, but just the kids in Allen, the program. Like just I don't know if it's just kind of getting back to normal after everything going on in the world for a little while. Like just they
Hear that, everybody? So we've got homes available.
yeah.
Well, it makes it tough for you because, as you say, when you develop all that talent, you only got so many roster spots.
For sure, that's the hardest thing.
I know that day has to be just awful.
It's the worst day of the year.
Yeah.
100%.
Only day of the year. I hate my job.
Yeah. Well, that's welcome to life, though.
Gotta make tough choices.
It does. It happens. So. Well, we appreciate you guys stopping by on this Saturday afternoon.
Good luck Monday.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll see you Monday night.
Be
Look
there.
forward to it. I want to plug next Saturday but I'm not going to say what it is. But I just want everybody to know we've got a podcast next Saturday.
How do you plug it and not say what it is?
Just listen if you'll listen.
It's called a tease.
Yeah. This may be our best podcast ever. It may
It's
just be.
offensive. It's my third time here.
No,
Fourth time.
Not
I already
this
know.
one. Next Saturday.
I know.
I will agree with that.
Yeah,
It's gonna be-
absolutely.
It's gonna be heavy on
I
the
can-
E.
It will be
It's the most
heavy,
exciting thing next week. I'm looking forward to.
and it will be fun, and it'll be revealing.
Insightful, absolutely.
And it's something that we've wanted to do for a long time, and we finally found the right people to do it.
And
So
I'm going shirtless.
Oh God, please help
That
me.
was-
He did
better.
say revealing.
may be the
Oh,
shortest
what are you
video
talking
next
about
week.
revealing?
we'll just do audio only next week.
Almost did today.
Yeah, tune in next Saturday evening. Pick it up. We'll have it out there as soon as we get it posted. But it's going to be fun, and we're going to have a good time with it. And we've been wanting to do it for a long time. So. Thanks to everyone who made this possible. Appreciate again you guys stepping
Thank you,
out.
guys.
We'll
Appreciate the
see you
support.
Monday night again, 7 o'clock at Rock Hill. That's Allen and Hebron, round one of the UIL 6A state basketball championship. 7 games, right?
7 games.
It's just 7 games.
The link is on our social media if you want to buy the tickets in advance.
Yep.
They do accept cash at the door.
There you go. So until next time, guys, it's over and we are out.
Peace.
Awesome.